Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. And in this series, we're going to be going over Jupiter in the houses, okay? Jupiter in the houses, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about the 10th house. So having Jupiter in the 10th house, all right? And before we get to that, I want to remind you guys to check out my music, okay? On Spotify, Apple Music, and here on YouTube. I've been playing them in my intros and outros, and I've been getting some comments on them, so definitely check it out. All you have to do is type my name and I'll definitely pop up. So yes, getting to Jupiter in the 10th house, okay? First, let's dissect Jupiter and the 10th house, starting with Jupiter. Jupiter in astrology is the planet of expansion, and it expands everything. That's why it's the biggest planet when you're comparing it to Venus or Earth or Mars or Pluto or whatever. It represents big energy, and this energy in your chart will represent abundance, what you have a lot of, lots of opportunities, and because of this, Jupiter, wherever it is in your chart, it's going to represent where luck is, okay, where you're blessed, where you have lots of opportunities. Jupiter also represents freedom and traveling and expanding in that way. So traveling, foreign places, all of that connects with Jupiter, and expanding your reality as well as, you know, what you understand and know. So your faiths, your beliefs are really connected to Jupiter, okay, philosophy. And then you have the 10th house. The 10th house is ruled by Capricorn, so it deals with your career, okay? It deals with your career. Your career, your reputation, the big work you do here on, you know, planet Earth. So not just your 9-to-5 job, what you're doing to sustain yourself, but your actual purpose, the job that represents your purpose, which is your career. And it also represents obstacles, how you're building yourself, you know. So, you know, that's the 10th house, a very public house and a very mature house that takes a lot of work and effort and development. And lots of obstacles. So with that being said, the first thing I can say, you know, with Jupiter in the 10th house is when it comes to your career, Jupiter here expands it. People with Jupiter in the 10th house can have really big careers because they have so much opportunities, so much expansion here, so much blessings here. So your luck is in your career, and this is a blessing. I mean, you know, there's so much that you can do with here in Jupiter, being here. And that luck is due to your expansion, how you expand yourself in your career. So a lot of people with Jupiter in the 10th house, they explore a lot, they adventure, they travel, they study a lot, okay? Jupiter is very philosophical, so these people study new things, and they pretty much expand themselves. They put themselves out there, so it brings them lots of opportunities within their career. So there's definitely such an abundance with your career, especially with that optimism as well too. You know, there's like nothing you can't do, and people with Jupiter in 10th house will be very confident and optimistic about their career. So definitely very blessed here, an abundance, an expansion within your career, and you can keep expanding. It's like you have no end. So definitely a great placement to have. But also with that, okay, comes obstacles, okay? So with that being said, all this blessings and opportunities, there's a lot of obstacles in your career because the 10th house is that, okay? That your career comes with obstacles. Anytime you're working in your career, you're gonna come up with lots of challenges, sacrifices you have to make, and a sense of like discipline. And Jupiter is not that. Jupiter is not about discipline. Jupiter is all about freedom and luck and things being easy and having everything. It's abundance. This is why we feel so blessed in it. So at one side of the coin, while you're very blessed with lots of opportunities and you expand yourself a lot in your career, you also have lots of restrictions here because it's still the 10th house. So Jupiter in 10th house people, you're going to have like a reality check a lot, okay? Because you're going to be so optimistic here with Jupiter, but because it's the 10th house, you're going to go through obstacles and you're going to have to fall on your face. And that's hard for a Jupiter person to handle because Jupiter is optimistic. It doesn't like all this discipline and restriction and challenges and strategy. So all of this energy 10th house is giving, you kind of have to discipline yourself here. Jupiter does feel a sense of restriction here, okay? The same way it felt some restriction in the 8th house, okay? Even though it's optimistic in the 8th house, there's still restriction there too. Same thing with the 10th house. There's restriction here as well too with your optimism. So Jupiter and 10th house people, you are gonna feel, you know, like you fell on your face a couple of times. Like, oh my God, my career's not going, it's not going as fast as you want it. You're not getting the things that you want. Things don't go, for Jupiter and 10th house people, nothing goes fast enough, okay? Because, you know, Jupiter is not operating in a house that is free like Jupiter. It's not free like this. So, you know, it's definitely a wake-up call for Jupiter and 10th house people, and it's gonna knock their spirits a little bit. But like I said, with this Jupiter energy, you can always get back up. But you need to build resilience, okay? Jupiter 10th house people, you need to build resilience, and you need to understand that you're not necessarily losing just because you fell on your face. I know you expect things to be easy and you feel it that way, and things will be big for you, but you need to add that discipline. And that's the hardest thing for Jupiter and 10th house people, is to add that patience and discipline. You know, your career isn't going to go as fast as you think. But the funny thing is, when you do get to wherever level, you know, whatever level you want to get to, a lot of people are going to think that you were lucky and you got it easy. So it's funny how that works. But yes, Jupiter and 10th house people, their confidence, their optimism is definitely going to be challenged a lot here. They're not going to gain their careers as quick as they feel like they should because of that Jupiter energy. But just keep going, Jupiter 10th house people. Keep going and keep that optimism. You know, you just have to understand it's not going to be so free-flowing. You have to add that discipline with your faith. Add the discipline with your faith. Also, being a preacher, okay, teacher is definitely a good career place to go to. A Jupiter in 10th house, motivational speaker, someone who's educating, preaching, even a preacher, someone who's like, you know, educating and opening people's minds and teaching and preaching to them. Very good placement, because 10th house deals with your career, your job, what you do, and going into this place where you can teach and open people's minds with you know, your teachings and things that you've learned through Jupiter, because Jupiter expands your mind through the experiences and the adventures. Teaching as a career, any type of subjects, especially philosophy and things of spiritual nature and higher ideas, is great for Jupiter 10th house people, because you guys are educators. Okay, Jupiter is a teacher, okay, of knowledge, and it's here to expand everything that you go through and you explore and you discover. You're here to share that with people. Very Jupiter energy, so doing it as a career, very good placement. So it's a definitely great placement for people to go into. Also with Jupiter in 10th house, your reputation, okay, what people know you for, people could just know you as the wise man or the wise woman, you know, the person with all the wise advice, with such higher knowledge, and you know, you have that reputation as someone who's always going to give you that higher wisdom, you know, that philosophical approach or perspective, you know, and people respect that, you know, and because 10th house deals with your reputation, this is like how people see you. Also, Jupiter in 10th house people, you have a very optimistic, happy, positive reputation as well in your career. A lot of people can also see you as someone who's funny, someone who's entertaining, someone who has high energy, someone who's inspiring. There's a lot of inspiration with this, because again, the 10th house is your public house. This is like who you are on the big stage, okay? 10th house can represent fame as well too, but it's your reputation. People know you for your legacy, you know, with that Jupiter energy. And Jupiter is very fun. It's very much about freedom. It has high energy, you know, very exaggerated. So a very positive reputation that comes with having Jupiter in the 10th house as well too. You're not just philosophical and educational or wise, but you're also energetic. Also, luck in your career, all right? With Jupiter expanding your opportunities, Jupiter putting you out there. It's having you travel. It's putting your name out there. It's having you see and open places you've never been through. You are very lucky in your career. And I put lucky, with, I say that with quotes, because luck isn't really what it is. It's Jupiter, It's the fact that you have so many opportunities. People will see your career as lucky, like, wow, this person with Jupiter in 10th house got to do this with their career, or wow, this person got to do that, or wow, look at where they are. It can look lucky. It can look like an overnight success, and it can certainly be that, but a lot of the reason is because of how open the Jupiter in 10th house person is when it comes to their career. They're traveling, they're taking their opportunities, they're spreading themselves out, they're putting themselves in places they've never been. They're taking in a lot of information. They're seeing the bigger picture in their career fields. This is why they're lucky, or they're so positive, or they do so well in their careers with this placement. And it might look like luck, but it's because of how they open themselves, how they put themselves out there. That's how you begin to be lucky. It's when you open yourself to opportunities. So again, a lot of Jupiter in 10th house people, you guys are going to have this image like you're lucky in your career because of the big things you get to do. But what people are not understanding is that you're traveling. You're putting yourself out there in places people don't go out. You're putting yourself in different places. You're moving out of your hometown. You're seeing different people. You're putting yourself in places. You're studying fields that people don't go into. And you are also optimistic and big. You're able to take, you're able to go for those big positions and careers and go for big opportunities in your careers because you have that big energy. You're willing to take the risk. You're courageous. So this is why you guys are lucky. So understand that, because Jupiter in 10th house people, like I said, that 10th house influence in Jupiter makes you work hard. So while everyone looks at you like you're lucky, Jupiter in 10th house people actually have to work hard. That 10th house, I'm telling you, the 10th house energy, it's not going to allow you to be lucky like that. It's going to make you work. But again, when you keep consistent, you'll be fine. And then once you make it, everyone will say, you're an overnight success. You got lucky, when you really were working hard and opening yourself to opportunities. But that's Jupiter, in the 10th house. Also, Jupiter in the 10th house really expands your reputation. So it can make you this could be like a famous placement, meaning like you can have like a really public name. Maybe your business is your name and everyone knows you, and your business becomes like this huge, thing that runs for legacies, Big fame can come with Jupiter in the 10th house, like a lot of people recognizing you, know you. It could be international fame, like whatever you do, whatever your career is, it's just really big. Again, it's that big energy with Jupiter in the 10th house. So there's a lot of fame and public reputation and public recognition that comes with Jupiter. 10th house is already a loud house because, again, it's your reputation, it's your career, it's your public reputation. And then you put Jupiter here, it's like expanding it. So a lot of attention, a lot of fame with this placement. Also, a traveling career. So a lot of times, Jupiter in 10th house people, your career is definitely great with traveling. Whatever you do, if it consists of traveling, do it. Whatever career fields you want to get into and study, make sure it gets you out of your local area, or not even area, place, just what you're used to. Like, so the normal educational system. Study something different. Study something that expands your mind, okay? Because again, like I said, the traveling and expanding through the mind, through reality, is going to help boost your career and tap into your career in general. You're going to make the most money out of that. And a lot of times, Jupiter in 10th house people, they tour a lot. They travel. They could be motivational speakers who travel constantly. They could be, artists, whatever. Traveling and being on the move or getting out of your local areas is a great way to tap into your career. So yes, that's Jupiter in the 10th house. In the 10th house, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you did, you could book a reading with me, okay? I do astro readings as well as tarot. All you gotta do is email me and we could go forward with that. And you can also check out my music and my videos. All the links will be in the description box below. And I'll check you guys out on the next video.
Take any path of life, maybe your darkest days or brightest days of life. I walk into a realm so cold, big doors, big bars.